Some new numbers out on the housing market show just how tough it is still for people trying to buy a home. Existing home sales fell nearly 2% in July, while the median price actually climbed to just over $430,000. And first-time buyers now make up less than a third of all home purchases.
But there may be a little good news. Mortgage rates moved lower today. Consumer reporter Susan Hogan explains what today's numbers could mean if you're thinking about buying or selling or just waiting it out.
If you've been trying to buy a house, you've probably been watching mortgage rates and wondering, do I buy now or do I keep waiting? New housing numbers out today show home sales are slowing, but prices are still stubbornly high. At the same time, mortgage rates have been moving a little lower. So what does any of this mean if you're trying to buy or sell a home? Joining me right now is Kate Wood. She's a lending expert from NerdWallet. She's going to help us make sense of this. Hey, Kate, nice to see you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So let's start with the person who's been sitting on the sidelines waiting for mortgage rates to come down. Does today's news change anything for them?
So today's news doesn't change anything for them necessarily, but what I would say to that person is if you are financially in a position to buy a home right now, stop sitting on the sidelines. There is no reason not to move forward. And in particular, you shouldn't necessarily be waiting on rates to fall or to rise for that matter. No one can know the future, and we had a perfect illustration of that earlier this year. If you were someone who was considering buying or refinancing back in February, rates had been falling for several months by that point, and there was every indication that rates would continue falling in March. And then next thing you know, we're in a war. The entire situation has completely changed. Fears around inflation have driven mortgage rates straight up, and really no one could have foreseen that. So if you are someone who is in a position where right now is the time for you to buy, it makes sense for you financially, just go ahead and move forward with it.
And here's what I think a lot of buyers don't realize. Even though homes are still expensive, if sales are slowing, does that give buyers more negotiating power right now?
Absolutely. And this is another reason why it actually might make more sense, again, if you are in a position where you can afford a home at today's rates, to just move forward now, because buyers are extremely rate sensitive. So those stats you were referring to that we just saw about sales coming down from June to July of this year, that was because mortgage rates went up. However, sales this July were significantly better than last July 2025. And that's because relative to a year ago, interest rates are lower. People are so rate sensitive that should rates drop significantly, we are going to see many more buyers coming into the market. And so you could end up buying a house where, okay, you're buying it at a point where the interest rate is lower, but because you've got that much competition, maybe you're in a bidding war, the price is going to be higher and it could potentially erase that difference.
And final question for you, Kate, is what should buyers be asking a seller for besides just a lower price if they've got a little wiggle room?
So realistically, actually, a smarter move for a buyer at this point can be to pay the seller's asking price and then ask for that price lowering as a concession rather than as a lower price. Essentially, that is going to give you money back at closing that you can then use to cover some of those costs, perhaps to pay for a rate buy down or to buy points on that mortgage rate. So if you do have a little bit of wiggle room there, it might make more sense to ask for concession rather than to just try to go a little bit lower than the price.
Kate, thank you so much for joining us. Great expert advice. We really appreciate it. Kate Wood, once again, lending expert from NerdWallet.